You know what I heard him say? He says he's going to teach these people democracy if he has to kill every one of them. Yeah, absolutely.
A Bridge to Fear is a fairly simple miniatures wargame. There are three sides. One is the US of A, one is the Russians, and one is the locals. The game is set in about 1955 in a small South American country, the República de Banana. The Americans are led by a captain who is in charge of an armored column of Shermans and trucks and Jeep. And he has to do something very simple. He has to drive down a road, across a bridge, and get set up in case the Russians come for an ambush. Oh, although I'm going to refer to the guest of honor, or the captain, as a he, there's absolutely nothing that says that the captain can't be a she. Or indeed that any player, or as we will see, non-player, cannot be female. But I'm just going to refer to him because the character that the captain is a male. He has half an hour of real time to do this, moving as fast as he can, as long as all sides get a chance to move. It's half an hour real time, timed by the umpire.
All the way down to our destination.
Forward down the road. They can get out of our way or they can die.
In any game, what forces the Russians have, but we have to be able to deal with it. Either side of the road is muddy, so muddy that any vehicle that gets on it will bog down. So it's up the road or not at all. So half an hour to get across the bridge. Pretty straightforward, a simple miniature figures game, right? No, pretty much all I just told you is a lie. Bridge to Fear is a fiendish game of psychological torture. There's only one player, and that's the captain who's in charge of the armored column. Everybody else, everybody he meets, everybody he talks to, everybody he sees is playing against him to try to make his life hell to get across that bridge. For example, the Russians are there to not be there. The Russians have no forces. All they do is stand around and talk to each other and the umpire about dangerous sounding things, landmines, airstrikes, artillery, ambush, charges on the bridge, whatever. And that should all be done just in earshot of the captain. Remember, the captain is the only player. He's got people on his team, we'll get to all those. He's got people against him, but they're all against him. And he doesn't know that until the half hour is over. Oh, and one more thing. The captain always wins. Otherwise, he'd probably start beating people up. Okay, so this is all to see how he reacts. But at the end, he wins. And oh, by the way, and if we do the game again, he gets to pick whatever role he likes. Very often, this game will be played 3 times in a night. So now you know the apparent game, and now you know the real game. So let's go through some simple stuff. The rules are very, very simple about moving. You can walk the distance between your left and right most knuckles on your hand. You can drive a vehicle as far as you can set your fingers apart. Very straightforward. No need for rulers. You really don't need dice, but you should give the player some dice for that simple fuzzy feeling that whatever happens, if he rolls well, he can save himself. Now, die rolls don't mean anything. The umpire should have dice and roll them on occasion. The Russians should have dice and roll them on occasion. And just talk back and forth amongst themselves and the umpire in vaguely dangerous sounding things. When is that going to be here? In about 10 minutes. Coming back to me in 10 minutes and roll again. That kind of stuff. Again, just in earshot. The victory conditions for we'll call him the guest of honor from now on. The victory conditions for the guest of honor is to get across the bridge with any vehicle or any man, anybody, get across that bridge. And we'll see how tough that's going to be shortly. Although this is a role-playing game in reality, this should not become apparent to the guest of honor until the game is over. But your umpire shills, which everybody else is, should not go too crazy. Okay, remember, in the end, he gets to win. So the non-players need to be carefully briefed and reined in when they get a little too crazy. So there are some people who have to be in the game. Okay, there's the umpire. The umpire is the timekeeper and the ringmaster. He will keep track of time. He will allow the guest of honor to call timeout to ask about rules. So this looks like a real game. Remember, we want to give the player this warm, fuzzy feeling that this is really a game and that he's really got a shot. The umpire can also play other characters. We'll get to the general and the ambassador. So the umpire is required. Colonel Ortega. Colonel Ortega is the local liaison to the locals. Now, he's as corrupt as they come. He will give bad advice. He will overreact to some of the things we're going to see. He's there as a distraction who looks like somebody who can advise our player. There's Lieutenant Whittier. Lieutenant Whittier is right out of West Point. I mean, he has just got the shiniest new bars. Out of a class of 435, he finished 435. But he's seen every John Wayne Western there is, and he knows exactly what to do. So he's exactly what you don't want in a subordinate, a well-motivated moron. Assisting him is Sergeant Johnson. Now, Sergeant Johnson is an old veteran. He's been in the Army for a very long time. But in World War II, he was driving a tank that got hit by a German shell. And he was uninjured except for that really bad wound to his head. He hadn't been quite the same since. And so he tends to misunderstand orders from the player or from Lieutenant Whittier so that he may open fire rather unexpectedly if somebody says the word fire under any circumstances. He might take, for example, fire over their heads to be fire at their heads. So he's there again, just a distraction, but allowed apparently, I mean, to the player, he's somebody you have to keep track of because he's going to do crazy stuff. So you got to watch him, you got to watch the lieutenant, you got to watch you got to watch everybody. So we're pulling distraction. We're just overwhelming him with stuff he's got to deal with. That's the whole point of this exercise. Now, back in the capital, Mañana, is the general. The general is there to put more pressure on the captain to remind him that he needs to get across that bridge. And I mean now. So the general is going to issue unspecified threats to the captain's career or his family or whatever is necessary to get him moving. If the player becomes catatonic, the general needs to step in and get him moving again. Another one is the ambassador. The ambassador is also back in Mañana, and he will make demands on the captain's time and attention by making sure that he doesn't upset the local. Make sure nobody gets hurt, Captain, because it'll affect our relations with the locals. So when the captain gets interested in starting to shoot people, the ambassador should show up and tell him that that's a terrible idea. The Russians we already talked about. The other force involved is supposedly neutrals. These are locals who will make demands, the attention and time of the guest of honor to screw with his head. Okay, this is what they're here for. The locals have got to be including protesters. Protesters are there at the beginning of the game, standing in the road which blocks the tanks and the trucks. The protesters should be loud, in other words, physically loud. They should ask things like, what have you done with my brother? Your men stole all my cattle. Just stuff that they would be angry about as locals and being oppressed by not so much our player, but by people he will feel responsible for, other Americans, unspecified other Americans. These might actually be friendly locals and pass out wine to the men or unspecified herbal material, which might lead the men to misinterpret or ignore orders from the guest of honor. But in general, this is hubbub and, again, things that appear to require the guest of honor's attention. We're trying to overload him or her. There's one more player that is required, and that's the newsman. The newsman is there to be a witness so that the guest of honor cannot just, I accidentally shot everybody. He's the witness that will make the guest of honor feel like he can't just do whatever he wants because the folks back home will know about it. And of course, if the guest of honor shoots the newsman, he or she will be replaced by another newsman asking about what happened to the previous newsman. So the newsman is immortal. Can't get rid of him no matter what you do. he's going to ask the guest of honor questions that he or she doesn't want to answer. And do things like interview some of the locals. Just enough so, again, the guest of honor will hear it and become embroiled in it if he or she is not lucky. First thing that the player has to do is get rid of the protesters somehow. Now, we've seen that be just drive over them, just shoot them all, just grab them and physically move them out of the way. You can have intermediate things, for example, that one of the protesters is a pregnant woman who looks just like Lieutenant Wet-Ear's mom. And he won't want to do that, and she's lying in the road now. But once you get past the protesters, now we have lots of other stuff we can throw in there. So we got the cattle herder. He shows up if the guest of honor has driven some of his vehicles off the road in the vain attempt to get around everybody, and the vehicles have bogged down, and the cattle herder will offer to help the vehicles back on the road for a bit of remuneration. Oh, by the way, the newsman also has, as part of his props, money that he can use to bribe anybody, again, within view and within hearing of the guest of honor. And the newsman might bribe people to say things that the guest of honor knows are not true, but will look good to the folks back home about how terrible things are here in La Repubblica de Banana. And this money might become currency to be used in later transactions, which we'll get to. So the cattle herder might be bribed by the player if he can get hold of some of that money from the newsman by fair means or foul. So again, these are all optional, and just screw with his head. Okay, so the Brothers of San Saliva. The Brothers of San Saliva are monks from a nearby monastery, and they are taking a priceless icon, you can see it there, up the road past the armored column to have it cleaned. If any of the vehicles drive past the brothers and their icon, the icon might get damaged. Another one is a party from the British Museum who drive up in some Jeeps coming the other way from the bridge, and they will demand that the player get his vehicles off the road because there's a archaeological site in the road. And the British Museum guys have got to dig it up take it back for preservation to the British Museum. Another one is the tourist. The tourist is a man or woman from home, from the United States, who is there visiting, and he is there so glad to see the Americans because he wants to go home and he's run out of money. So he wants to somehow attach himself to the captain's column, preferably in the most comfortable vehicle available. And oh, by the way, he starts taking pictures of what's going on. So again, the guest of honor has another witness. And this time it's rather obviously an American. Another one is a stop sign. That's pretty simple, right? A stop sign magically appears in the road. He wasn't there before, but if the guest of honor gets past the protesters, the stop sign might appear with an official-looking policeman who will demand that every vehicle come to a full stop before they get past the stop sign. And oh, by the way, I'd like to see your license and registration for each vehicle, please. Another thing that could magically appear is a Coke machine, which, of course, none of the soldiers has seen in a very long time, and will crowd around trying to come up with enough change to get Cokes out of the Coke machine. And they can't shoot the Coke machine because then they would have to deal with the Coca-Cola company, and that's something you don't do. Similar to the stop sign is a toll taker. You might remember from Blazing Saddles that a toll booth magically appears, and each vehicle must have its toll paid somehow. Again, more distraction, more apparent delay. So now we're going to get a little more outre. A guy in a black suit appears, comes up to the guest of honor and says, "I'm not here. I was never here, but I need 20 of your men and their vehicles for a classified mission right now. And oh, by the way, have you seen a crashed aircraft? Well, even if you have, you haven't. Got it? Okay, I need those men right now." And he'll have ID. He's definitely a guy from the CIA. Another distraction can be from the Russians again. Remember, the Russians are still standing over there talking. And they can talk about things like mining the bridge. Are the explosives ready on the bridge? How far away are they from that minefield? That kind of thing. We're just laying things on top. Aaron Bimler. Aaron Bimler is an old guy with a gray toothbrush mustache and a nice suit and a a wife who appears when a Fiesler Storch aircraft lands on the road, and he gets out. He seems to know Colonel Ortega, and Colonel Ortega seems to be him, and they go off in view of the guest of honor and talk about something. If you're looking for something to hang the character on, Peter Sellers is Dr. Strangelove. Mein Führer, I can walk. Except, of course, he's Herr Bimmler himself. He might talk to Ortega about the merchandise or the diamonds, that kind of thing. And remember, Colonel Ortega knows him, so they can engage in increasingly loud negotiations. And then we can have a priest who stumbles across the armored column and sees the Brothers of San Saliva and begins to try and denounce them as heretics, and they should be suppressed right now by the captain. Another one is the guys from Mission Impossible. This one involves another vehicle coming from over the bridge where the player has to get to. It's trailing smoke. You can hear gunfire. The van is black and it has Campanica de Aqua written on the side of it. Turns out this is the Mission Impossible guys who are just trying to get away, and all the smoke and everything is distractions because they think they're being pursued. And they will just want to get through the column. Let us through, please, we need to get through. And they will have with them Colonel Ortega, who is actually Leonard Nimoy as Paris in disguise. So Colonel Ortega will meet Colonel Ortega, and they will have an argument about which one is the real one. Who are you? And I don't understand. And what's the name of your brother's cousin? And that kind of stuff. Again, all of this distraction. Another one like the Mission Impossible is the guys from Project UFO. Project UFO is preceded by a glowing disc-shaped object that flies over the column from horizon to horizon, and a big flash is seen off in the distance. So then a black helicopter arrives, lands on the road. Two guys get out, sunglasses, black suits, the works, and they are also not here. And they require men and some trucks to go investigate that thing that you didn't see. And if the CIA guys are there, they may get into an argument about that kind of stuff. Again, in front of the guest of honor. You can think of things on your own hook. Things that we thought of was Freemasons. Freemasons might arrive, give the secret handshake or whatever it is. The player will suddenly discover that he's a Freemason too. And they're here because there's some sort of secret Masonic item that's somewhere near here that they need help finding. They might be antagonistic to the British Museum guys if they're here. The thing to make sure that the player knows is that if he displeases these guys, he ain't making 33rd degree for the rest of his life. They're Masons, he's a Mason, he is bound to help them. Or he appears to be bound to help them. At some point, the player will make it to the bridge and prepare to cross the bridge. And this part is required. When he gets to the bridge, a school bus full of screaming children will drive onto the bridge from the other side. The driver will get out, chain the door shut, and this will all happen before the player can react. Chain the door shut, pull the distributor cap off the engine, toss it in the water, and dive in himself. He's gone. So now we got a school bus full of screaming children in front of the newsman at least, and other people maybe, that he has to do something about. And that something about has to involve killing at least some of the children. This has to occur. He has to make that decision. He might have skated through everything else. Here's something he can't finesse. Those children, some or all of those children have to be killed. Things he might do involve trying to have his men push the school bus back down to the other side of the river. It won't move. He might try to push the school bus with one of his tanks. The tank will accidentally drive over the school bus and the children will all be killed. However, having done so, he'll have a vehicle across the bridge. So he's got to do something perceptibly evil to get across the bridge. He just has to. Now, a thing to remember is that he's got to win. And that doesn't mean he has to win specifically. If he or she freezes and just will not go through with it, then we have other actors who can do it. Lieutenant Whittier might order Sergeant Johnson to fire up his tank and push that thing out of the way. And Sergeant Johnson will fire the tank's cannon at the school bus, blow it to pieces, and drive across. So the player always wins. Don't forget that. So what can we do to make the things more interesting? Props and costumes. That always helps, because it not only does it identify characters to the guest of honor, but it helps the actors play their parts. So things like a helmet for Sergeant Johnson. That's good enough. A Panama hat for Colonel Ortega. Something like that. For the newsman, it's really good if you have a video camera, which is running. You're actually filming it. You've seen some video of this from real games. Okay, so that not only does the guest of honor have to deal with the situation in the game, he's got to deal with the fact that he's being recorded doing this. He personally is being recorded doing this. Another little bit of stress. Another prop is money, not actual money, unless you're really wealthy. Here are some examples that I came up with a while back for money from the Banco de República de Banana. Another thing is ID cards. ID cards, very simple for the UFO guys or the Men in Black or whatever. Just fake it up. No worries. That you can present to him that seem to add gravity to the situation. Yes, these guys really are from the CIA. Another one is radios. We found that if you get those Chizo headset radios, we got these from Radio Shack, the guest of honor has to wear one, and that's how he gets messages from the ambassador and the general, for instance. It's another distraction. In other words, he's got to not only pay attention to everything else that's going on, he's got this noise in his ear that he can't ignore. And other things that might happen on that radio is just distortion. Just voices in his headset that he can't identify that say things that are a little disturbing. Artillery. Or my favorite, airstrike. Rolling in. Stuff he can't ignore, but has to deal with. And remember, he's dealing with the possibility that there might be mines in the road. He has to deal with all this stuff somehow. If he's going to use mine detectors to walk in front of his tanks, it's going to take too long. And oh, by the way, it may be that the mine detectors don't work. Captain, the mice have eaten the wires in my mine detector. It won't work. More distractions, more stress. And remember, at the end, the big prize is no matter what they do, they win. Whatever has been done by them, whatever reprehensible thing they've done, it's all been a sham. It's all been just for fun, and they have won the game. Very important. Whatever happens, they've got to win. So there you are. It's pretty straightforward stuff. It is. You might remember this as the Kobayashi-Maru test, except this comes before the Kobayashi-Maru test by about 10 years. We've been playing this game for a long time. If you want to put on a version of this game, you are more than welcome to, but you should give a licensing fee to Mr. Ed Mohrmann and mail 10 small pieces of paper to E. Mohrmann, 4236 Battle Creek, Michigan, 17305. Thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.
Captain, you've just murdered thousands of civilians and dozens of your own men.
We paid all their families off and had a good time.
How do you feel?
I'm going to Disneyland.
There you go.